This is Too Long for a Voice Note, a podcast about everything and nothing at the same time, presented by Claire
and Enzo. Our podcast is produced in London. Some conversations are just too long for a voice note.
Hey, he's Enzo.
She's Claire.
And this is Too Long for a Voice Note.
Guys, welcome
Hello!
back. Finally,
Oh
a new
God.
episode.
It feels like so long.
It's been like months. Actually, it's been like one. But it feels like a lot. I think
really long time.
Christmas time
What
gives
was
you
our
like
last
a...
episode, to be fair?
The last
Like-
one, I think it was something about like the phone,
Oh, were you addicted to your phone?
It wasn't the last
That
one?
was a hot minute ago.
Wow, that was
It
a long
really,
time
really
ago,
was.
guys. So
We've
if
been
you haven't
bringing
checked it, you
yeah.
can check it
Check
still.
it out now. Check it
Yeah,
out. Check it out.
Check it out, guys. Thank you for coming back
Yeah,
to
thank
listen to
you.
our podcast or watching our podcast. So before I forget, I want to
Mhm.
mention something. If you listen to our podcast on Spotify, now Spotify has an option that you can rate the podcast as well, like Apple. But this is very easy because when you go to the profile of the podcast, you can just like slide your finger and you can put like obviously 5 stars. I'm watching
Yes,
you,
Exactly.
and you can leave us because as more it's a ranking. So
Yeah,
the more
for sure.
the more reviews you have, the
More
higher,
people
and we'll see the
it,
podcast. So
and
it will help
that's
us a lot.
great,
So please,
yeah.
and it's really easy. It takes like 1
Swipe.
second. You just swipe,
Mhm.
give us 5 star,
Please
and
do.
of course remember to subscribe to the channel if you're
Mhm.
watching, or if it's Apple Podcast as well, if it's Instagram, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just remember to click on something.
Exactly. We're everywhere. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, obviously we're on our YouTube channel, all of the audio streaming platforms. So you can find us everywhere. And
I love
we've been doing different content for you guys and kind of using this
Yeah.
chance to experiment with kind of what works. But we've really missed doing the full episodes,
Right?
haven't we? So
yeah.
we're so happy to be back
I
today.
feel like we need to go like in a straight like episode period of
Yeah.
like period episode every single week.
Yes,
we're gonna
for
go,
sure.
when I get there. But I hope
Yeah.
you're enjoying all our special little cute
Bonus
things. There's a few
content.
things coming
Yeah,
anyway.
we've got
So
a few
after
things
this
backed up.
episode, it's gonna
Mhm.
be more fun stuff coming.
Definitely.
So yeah. So how's been everything with your life, Claire?
How's everything
I know
been?
everything, but let's share a
everything's-
bit with our listeners that just like want to know more about us. Maybe they don't, but
Yeah.
there you go.
Maybe you know, but well, we went to Lisbon
Yeah,
for Enzo's birthday.
it was the best. So
Yeah.
my friends, including Claire, they gave me a surprise. It was like a birthday surprise. So they fly me to Lisbon,
Yeah.
which I always wanted to go to Lisbon. It's like it always been on my list. I don't know. I feel very curious about the city, so we managed to go to Lisbon. Also, the first time we have a trip together.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly. It was our
really
first trip,
cute.
and it was completely amazing.
We kill each other. It's always there's always room to think like, oh, maybe we're gonna hate each
I
other.
know.
But wasn't no? It was
Yeah,
amazing.
Good.
Yeah,
Good,
no one
good.
went too demon. No one
at
very,
all.
Actually, very chill for us.
We were very, very
I
chill.
mean, we have a moments where we created content, and our friends were like, "Can you take pictures of us?" And they were like, "All right." We try our best
We're
to
like,
get some
again,
photos.
another picture,
Yeah.
again. But that was, I think, yeah. But apart
Yeah.
from that, like everyone got on so well. We were a group of 4 with our
Yeah.
friends.
It was
and
really cute.
It was really fun, right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, apart from all the new things like testing and all
Yes.
the part that it's
Oh,
always
dear
boring
God,
and
yeah.
tiring, and you
Mhm.
need to swap things in your
Yeah.
nose and all of that. But apart from that, we have a great time. What's your
Yes.
favorite part of the trip? Apart of me being present,
Of course,
at
being
my
with
birthday.
you guys. I think it sounds really cringy, but I think
Go for it.
the older you get, the more you really appreciate just time with people. Like it's so important. And like I hadn't met Leah before, like our friend, and like she's probably watching or listening. So like it was a really
Hello.
good experience to like meet her and have just like time and be present. Because of course we see each other like every week. I'm
Yeah.
with Rodrigo as well, but it's like such intense quality time, and you just get to know
Yeah.
somebody on like a deeper level, I think.
Yeah, I think trips are really good for friendships.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Make
it
or
goes
break.
well,
Make or break.
make or break for sure. Like it can go wrong as well. Don't take us wrong.
Yeah.
It could go really bad.
Same
but
in a relationship as well. That's
same
a
in-
big relationship
Ooh,
test.
Yeah, like on a
Ooh.
trip.
What was your favorite
Yeah.
bit of the trip?
I think I was like I don't know. It was very like relaxing, and I think
Yeah.
like we had this time to get into the scooters. Like we
Oh, that
rent
was so
some
fun.
scooters, and we were like on the coast of Cascais.
Guys.
Amazing, like
Yeah.
it's part of Lisbon, but it's more around the coast, a bit
Yeah.
farther. So we went like a day trip over there, and it was really like I don't know, it was just like
It
a
was
free
so
feeling.
fun.
It made me feel like, oh my god, I miss to do this type of thing. I think you forget
Yeah.
how much you miss
Completely.
to feel like free. So well, as you may remember or not, because it's been a long time. This is my time, my week, to bring like a secret topic to chat with little Claire here next to me. But as you know, it's the end of the year,
Mhm.
and it's like, you know, time to reflect and to wrap up stuff.
Yeah.
I decided to tell Claire, like, you know, let's do like a wrap up kind of thing, inspired by Spotify.
2021 wrapped,
2021 wrapped.
basically.
But I wanted to, like, you know, talk about our favorite and maybe not so favorite things that happened this year.
Love it.
So, like, I sent Claire like a list of possible things that I can ask her, that I will ask her during the podcast. And, you know, hopefully you will, like, discover things or agree with us, or, like, think about things that you forgot during on the
that's a good
way.
point. Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's a good, you know, to kind of, like, it's been a hard, difficult year again with everything that's going on. We're very lucky, and for us, it's obviously not as hard as many others. And I have my list here on my phone because the iPad is not present today.
Who forgot it? Well, it was not charged and he forgot it. So a double whammy, but there we go. Peak Enzo.
like the iPad is like under the sink or something.
Like,
I don't know what it's saying.
Please, where am I? I'm never going to film again.
I should use my iPad more on my daily basis. I was for a moment and then I forgot about it.
Poor little iPad.
Oh, wow.
He or she will be back next year.
Okay, can you name your favorite and your most not favorite, I think the worst for you, movie of the year? Whether you watch cinema or like Netflix that you really liked. Doesn't matter if it was released this year, cool. But if you watch it this year, fine as well. So the best and the worst for you.
Okay.
If you have any of them, maybe you're gonna be everything was bad.
I have to say, like, I didn't actually watch a lot of films this year for some reason. I don't know why. For the whole year, maybe because we've really been pushing with the podcast and my work is really busy. But I've not really been drawn to watch a lot of
like a full movie.
Films or series. But I watched a film literally about 3 weeks ago that I loved, or even a couple of weeks ago, and it's called Shiver Baby. I mentioned it to you. And I got it on Mubi, which is a streaming platform.
The platform is amazing.
They have really cool films, and like it really
artistic.
Yeah, super. Like it kind of like, because I love film, like of course, like I absolutely love film, and it like really reminded me how much I actually love film. And so the premise of the film is, Shiva is a Jewish funeral, basically. It's like a wake, essentially. So everyone goes back to the person's house, and then they have food and like pay their respects. So this girl is, you don't really know why, but she is from quite an affluent background. It's set in America. She's deciding to be an escort. Like a high class escort, and she's sleeping with this guy who is quite a bit older than her. And she goes to the Shiva with her family, with her parents, and then the guy turns up, and she's like, "What the fuck?"
Oh wow!
And the entire film is filmed in the house where the Shiva is, and
so
it's actually really, really cool. I think. If you don't know a lot about like the Jewish faith, it's quite an interesting window and perspective into that world, like modern day Judaism. It's really like feminist, and really it kind of talks about like LGBT issues as well, and beautifully filmed. And I loved that film. That's
really cool about like having like subscriptions to services like Movie Like, because it's like sometimes it's difficult to find films that you will like, but if you want to watch something different, something that is more like let's say an edge, or something like it's not Hollywood, like or something, or kind of artsy kind of thing, you can go to this and do these services, and you can have like a good selection of things that you can play with. So that's a really cool movie. I would like to have a subscription there, to be honest. Right? Yeah, I had like a free one for like a month.
This was the free one.
It was a free one.
This was the free one.
I was like, we're this close for them to sponsor us, and Claire was like, I didn't pay, I didn't pay either when I have it, but I'm willing to pay it because it's a good way, because maybe like everything. I mean, it's a generalization, but I think everything you get there is gonna be at least interesting. I have some too. Because it's like curated, kind of like a platform.
And it gets so boring, when it's like everyone's like, "Oh, have you seen this on Netflix?" Yeah. I'm like, "Oh my god, I know that sounds really like wanky, but isn't it boring?" It's like, that film, that same film, and So they have a great selection of films, movies.
Well,
so
speaking of. I think my favorite film of this year is something that probably you gotta love. Like, did you watch this film? But I think you were like, speaking of. But yeah, I think my favorite film this year, I think, was Spencer.
Yeah.
It was a really, really, really good film and very unexpected. And I think it's a cool film because it shows, like, if you don't know, Spencer is about a Lady D, like the Princess Diana. But it's a really interesting take because it's not about her whole life. It's not about her being like this super kind of celebrity. It's not touching like, it's not like a biography, but it's just all focused like in, I think it was 3 or 4 days of her life, which it was Christmas.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a very personal sneak peek of into her mind, into her brain, and how she sees everything around her. So it's very like unlike of everything have you seen about her. So it makes you feel like, wow, that's how she felt.
Okay.
It's a film. It's not an easy film in a way. It's very emotional. It makes you feel like sometimes it makes you feel a bit trapped, a bit like, wow, she's trapped in this life. She's trapped in herself, and you know she has a lot of like eating disorders and things like that are touched very like in a really interesting way. You know, nothing it's too obvious.
What's
I
your
didn't
least
hate it.
favorite film?
I think for me, I have 2. I think one is Dune. You
Oh
know,
my
the
god,
movie
you
Zendaya.
hated you.
Kill me now. That movie was like 4 hours long. Dramatic. It's like 3 hours. It was so boring. It was so long. I fall asleep so many times. I mean, God bless Zendaya and Timothy and all of them. You know, I know everyone loves them and they're really good at what they do, but Jesus Christ, for me that was such a boring movie. I mean,
It's not your vibe.
It's not my
though. It's
vibe,
very sci-fi, right?
visually, obviously, it's amazing.
Yeah.
The money, amazing. It's like a lot of budget there, but I feel like there's not like nothing happens basically. And I also didn't like House of Gucci.
Oh yeah.
For me, it was a
I haven't seen it yet.
huge disappointment.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
people are
recommend
buzzing
that
about
movie.
that film.
I really, really didn't like the movie. It's like, this is not the worst thing ever, of course, but it's just like so much hype and so much anticipation, and I feel it fell short. Like the developing of the character is non-development. It's just you can feel the jump from one thing to other. You don't see the arc, you know,
Okay.
like when they're like, why this person changed like this now? Why this other person is like that? You don't
Yeah.
feel it. It's really
Okay.
bad. I think
Bad
it's a
cutting, probably.
but the script it wasn't really great. I mean, acting was alright. I mean, no spoiler alert, but of course, if you know, Gucci was killed. Obviously, that's what the movie is about. So it was killed obviously in real life with this woman, which was the wife, and that scene is probably one of the worst scenes I've seen. When she killed him,
my
it's
God.
horrible. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in cinema. Like, it's so anticlimactic. Like, why? I think it has a lot of potential, but didn't work for me.
I really want to see it.
Yeah,
I'm so
give it a
curious.
go. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic, but I really didn't like it. I was like, what the fuck is this? Give me your fave song and album of the year.
Okay, Faith Song
Or at
is...
least an album.
Huh?
Whatever you feel. Album, song, or both.
Okay.
You're like, I'm ready. I
I'm
have
so
it.
ready. My favourite song is definitely Yonagimi
By
by Bad Bunny Benito. Ti amo. Mi corazón. And just like, I'm dying.
Got it.
But I love that song. It's so like...
Yeah.
We reacted to it on the podcast.
Oh,
That was actually the
yeah.
first time I heard that song when we
Yeah.
reacted. And I was like,
Actually, we were on the taxi on the way to the airport in Lisbon, and they play it, right?
They
It
played
was
it, and I was
like,
like-
so like the mood, yeah.
So I love that song.
yeah.
It's so
too-
feel good
it's really
and happy
good. Yeah.
and like
yeah,
it was just really nice.
yeah.
But then 2 albums that I've been loving, like if you want to look at more of the album, is like Los Angeles by Rosalia, which is like her
very
like
cute.
Spanish guitar album. It
Yeah.
came before the more famous one,
El Mal Querer,
it
yeah,
came
yeah.
before that.
It's
I
her
love
first
that.
album, yeah.
Yeah, and then also is how do you say it? El Madrileño.
El Madrileño.
El
Ah, from
Madrileño,
C.
which is
Tangana,
C.
yeah.
Tangana. So, but that's more of the end of the year because I kind of just discovered C.
Yeah,
Tangana more
yeah.
recently. But I think that's an amazing album.
Very creative.
I
It's
love
like
it.
it's very like I think it's like this new wave of reggaeton mixing with Spanish,
yeah.
and like very current. I
Because
think
he's a
C. Tangana-
rapper, so
Yeah.
like I don't know, it's just really interesting what he did, and like I really recommend, like
Creative.
again, if you're into film, like his videos. I understand that they work with a team, but like the videos are so inspiring,
Yeah.
and he's got this almost like vintage vibe,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I really love. Like he's very unique.
You can tell how like because he and Rosalia they were together for quite a long time, or like they have a relationship, so you can
We're
tell.
like
you can tell how they work together because they have this
completely
creative. I mean, they see the war in a very creative way, and it's very interesting
Totally.
how they put it into music and the visuals.
I mean, him and Rosalia for me are super unique artists.
Yeah.
But yeah,
really
those. How about you, love?
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of stuff that I like during the year. I think this year, particularly, I really. Oh, you have. Well, let's go for the first one. This one. I really like this year. I like Lana Del Rey album, Chemtrails. I think it was a really nice album, and I think also it was released in a moment that really connect with it. It was very like peaceful, very organic. A lot of little guitars, a lot of like beautiful songs, beautiful lyrics. If you like Lana, you probably like her because her lyrics are very like storytelling in a very like I don't know, like a sensitive way, but very like interesting. It's not a typical sensitive thing like, oh, I love you, you love me. It's hard. It has very like, she creates also like a world around the song, so I think it's very, gives you like an experience. So I really like the album. What else? I think I really like also Queen Harvey album. It's really I really like her. She's really like an indie rapper. She's really cool.
Amazing.
And I don't know, I also think I like her a lot because I like the idea of seeing someone succeeding in their own terms. I think it's iconic because I think we are like, obviously in a different way, but I think we're also kind of going this journey to like creating our own ways to succeed and do what we love.
Because she had she had a record label, and she decided she actually had a tarot reading.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
she said they said like, you're never going to make it if you don't drop your label, right?
Yeah.
And so she's an independent artist. That's like what Enzo's referring to, and now she's completely changed her style, right?
And her life is really good.
Yeah.
Like, she does her own creative stuff. She makes her videos, her music, and she's her own boss. And I think it's very inspiring to see people succeed. I think it's like, wow, it's cool. You can make it if you really really focus on something. Yeah, that's inspiring. For sure. In songs, I'm trying to think about one song I really like. I like so many songs, to be honest. It's so difficult. What was even my number 5 song in Spotify?
Juice by Queen Harvey.
It was, but to be honest, I think like I listened to the song a lot because it was catchy, but I wouldn't say it was my favorite song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you listen to songs a lot, but then it's like, it's not my favorite song.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe something about her. Like, I mean, I like one, Solar Power by Lord. I think it was a really interesting, like breezy, like relaxing song. Yeah, for sure. What else? Oh well, Christina also released new music. It's not my favorite song of the year, but I'm happy she's releasing music in Spanish. I think it's like such a throwback. It makes me feel like a kid again. Oh my God, Christina's releasing new music in Spanish. Like, so, all right. Right. So, I know this is a bit long, but let's try to make it short. But because I think it's important to say, but something maybe like a new news or something important that happened, like positive or negative, or what do you think was the best news of the year and what was the worst news of the year? Both things. What do you feel? Something that you were like, oh, thanks God this is happening, and something else you were like, oh fuck, really? Like,
okay.
Or not in a nutshell, because
nutshell.
This year was clearly a lot, but
I think of the negative first.
Yeah.
At this point, just because I guess maybe that's the way that our brains are a bit hardwired, which maybe isn't a good thing. But the climate change stuff, the COP26.
That was a disaster.
That was really hard, I think, because I think it was so sobering. Everything that came out of that was just like, I think we're really fucked. And like,
you're so right. I remember when we were talking about it, it was very like, well, yeah, for 2055, we're gonna make these changes. It's like, really? That's like 30 years away. What are you talking about? Yeah. More. So, I think that was a bit eye-opening as well, of like, not to be negative, but where are we heading as a society, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's always things that could change, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just think because it kind of like with climate stuff, like there's no point thinking about really anything else for me. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, why do we think about other things? But that's like the most important thing.
Because it's,
literally nothing else matters if that is fucked. So,
literally, we're alive thanks to all of those elements. So yeah. For me, well, I think this year was a lot of things related to like women being attacked and again all of this story of like, of course there's a lot of things that are changing and they're always getting better, let's think about it, but there's always people doing things, but also there's always this moment that we are like, we're still dealing with that, like women being attacked, murder, like inequality, women fighting for because they want to have an abortion and they can't.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So there's a lot. There was a lot of this year as well. And it's a bit like really we're still there. Like I feel very stupid. Like we're in 2021 and women are still like in a level below men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
And always they need to like you women need to fight for things.
Yeah.
Like always like this constant fight to kind of level up. It's like so fucking tiring.
I think that to add to that as well, I agree. Like one of the things that was so depressing because obviously, really sadly, Sarah Everard was murdered this year at the beginning of the year. But then at the end of the year, so the police officer who murdered her was found guilty and he's been sentenced to life in prison, obviously. Yeah. But the Met's response, that was really depressing. You remember they came out and they said, women just need to wear bright clothing, non-seductive clothing or something like that.
Something
like
super stupid.
Don't wear your headphones, carry your keys, let somebody know that you're walking. It's like, that's what you have to say. After all of that, that's all you can say. Really? Okay, so she was murdered in March and then the trial was in October, and it's like that's all you've been able to come up with in that amount of time is basically women have to modify their behaviour. Let's not look at the men or the institutional sexism. Let's look at women again, because it's that tone, isn't it, of like blame them
it's always
again,
like that.
and it's like that I found like really fucking depressing.
And I think again the problem of this is, I mean, great that this man was sentenced to jail to like they have to be there. It's like he deserved that, but this is not a solution at all. It's good that he's paying for that. The thing is, we're not solving the issues. We are, again, the police is like, oh yeah, you need to be more careful and like wear different clothes. It's like, really, that's the solution? What about to put more police on the streets? Or what about like change it, the educational structure in schools? Why we don't go to like the roots of the problem? The problem is not just simple like, oh, this and this and that. It's many like layers of it, and we need to work and act on it. And it's going very slowly, this process, and we need to like start now. I mean, we have to start yesterday, kind of thing. And it's like crazy that you're like, this is not a solution. And of course, it's not like for this type of situations, it's not like a clear one solution, but there's many steps that we could take to make this better. Try to light up a bit the conversation. What was it for you, like one thing or things that make you feel like, oh, well, okay, this is like something positive that happened?
I think it's like kind of adding to that actually, to like, it's not really like one thing, but I think I've been like, not to sound like an old person, but we talk about this a lot, but I think it has been kind of encouraging to see that how the younger generation are kind of moving things forward. And something that popped into my mind was actually an episode we did where we were talking about Billie Eilish, where it was like her kind of like, you know, she had done like a magazine cover and people were giving her loads of hate because she was kind of dressed in like a different way for her and was being a bit more like sexual and like, you know, feminine, and like, but her response was so like amazing and mature, and she's still so young. And like, I know that that's just one example because she's obviously super famous and it's a different kind of thing, but just people that I've been around, like at my work, who are a little bit younger, I just think they're really cool. Like they're really, really cool. And the way we talk about this, the way they talk about sexuality, the way they talk about different kind of, like LGBT things and men and women. And it is kind of refreshing, I think.
At least to see the new generation, they're going towards different direction.
And I think we notice it because I think, I would like to say we're still quite in tune with all of that, but we are a different generation.
Definitely, we are,
And so, like, I think we can see the differences even between our generation and there. And I think that it is really positive to see how some things are shifting, and a lot of people are saying, like, enough is enough, no. And, so that would be
really
one
cool.
thing. What about you?
Actually, I was, like, checking through our, like, content that I was checking or through, like, stories on Instagram because we share a lot of, like, things that happens, right? And there was something that I remember I really liked. It was like, it's like the small things again, new generation, how things can shape differently. But I think this year were a lot of like changes and like a positive like steps forward to like be more open and try to break this gender like barrier or gender labels that we have. And like we have the Lego brand that they decided to not put like gender labels to their toys anymore, and you know, like Lego. You say Lego or Lego?
Lego,
right?
Lego.
It's a Lego. Like J Balvin, Lego.
Latino
again, La Familia. When you see these big brands like Lego doing this kind of like bold moves, because if you think about it, Legos are for like it's not only your generation, it's been for generations and generations. Our parents have been around for a long time. So it's kind of like institutional kind of toys like Barbies and things, they've been around forever. And the fact that they came forward saying like, done with this, we're gonna make toys that has no gender. So if it's a boy, if it's a girl, if it's whatever it is the case, it will feel good and included with our toys. I think that's a really cool move, and it kind of like moving. It's a little step for the future. Same as like we saw the Elle magazine with the first non-binary person on the cover that we talk about in the episode. It's like that's really cool as well. Like a women's oriented magazine showing someone that is non-binary. It's like, oh well, okay, we're moving forward. I think that's a lot of things with the LGBTQ community that's been going around. A lot of like, I remember, I think in Ireland there was the first school in the world that actually started to teach kids about like LGBTQ history. So that's very like those little things matter, and I think like we need to. That's the thing, when we try to fix issues, you need to go to the base, like
to kids,
and then showing kids that you can be free to feel whatever feel you feel, whatever feel you like giving them that freedom of. You're not a bot. You are whatever you want to be.
For sure.
And I think that was definitely bright news for this year. I feel like this year was very there's a lot of movement around this particular year, so I think that was good.
Cute.
We're a podcast. We also listen to other podcasts, right? So I wonder, like, and I know, like, I think you are more into podcasts than me, like in your daily basis life, let's say, whatever you say it. So I wonder, which was the podcast this year that was like your favorite podcast that you think, oh, that podcast is really good?
Well, I have two.
Okay.
One is a like long term. I love this podcast. You will know. I talk about it all the time. It's called Where Shall We Begin, and it's by Esther Perel. Esther Perel is a couple therapist. She's like my absolute brain crush.
I need to give it a go. I've listened to things that you have sent me. We have discussed them, but I haven't checked by myself an episode, so I have to.
You have to. So basically, the premise of the podcast is that she has a couple, but then at the beginning it was just like a romantic couple, but then she branches out to like a mum and a daughter, or like friends now.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And it's like a one-time.
We're gonna go to her podcast. We're gonna create a problem, like a fake issue for her to have, and you're gonna be like,
oh my god! I honestly would. I think I would be so starstruck if I met her. She's got a really well-known TED talk as well, like about infidelity. It's like one of the most viewed TED talk, and then she's an amazing person, so intelligent, and so they have the podcast is them having a couple therapy session.
Super interesting concept.
Oh, and they're so interesting. Like, and of course they like leave out some details that might kind of give it away too much, but I just love it. And she did a series of like couples under lockdown. So there was like a couple in Italy and Germany, and like it was just the way that she works. And like if you're like, I'm in therapy, I've been having regular therapy for a year, and like both my parents are actually like therapists now, so I have like a really big interest in therapy, but it's like free therapy because of course like the issues, it's not about you, but the way that she talks,
you can relate to certain topics, and you're like, oh yeah, it's like free therapy.
Completely. And it's sense. So interesting. And another one is a lot lighter, but it's called The Receipts. So it's three girls, they're London girls.
It's huge
podcast. And like the premise is that people put in their dilemmas, but they're a lot more, but they are hilarious. So Where Shall We Begin is very heavy, very intense. You have to be in the right frame of mind. The Receipts is like, I feel like I'm hanging out with my girlfriends and they're just crying really cool. with laughter, and like, because I think there are some heavy moments in this year, right?
Definitely.
So it just will always make me laugh.
That podcast is huge. I saw an advertisement the other day on the tube. It's like, the podcast of the year or so something. Great. It's like, you go,
that's so funny.
Really, really
so
cool.
Like such London girls as well, which I really like. But how about you love your podcast?
I think this year, also we have like, like The Guardian is a really great podcast because it's very like informative, and I think they have like a really like interesting point of view on topics that are really like relevant and news and things that happens. I really also like Jamila Jamil podcast. I Wait.
That's
I think it's a really, also you need to be like in a mood because if you know Jamila is like boom 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 boom, and she's very like it's not a podcast to be relaxed.
No.
Because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things that are going through, and she's very like a strong character. So you need to be like in a certain mood. But I really like her podcast. I feel like I find myself learning a lot of stuff while listening to the podcast, that things that kind of click sometimes. You're like, oh, that. And she has great guests, obviously, because she's super famous. So she has basically any person in the world like available for her podcast.
Yeah.
So that's really, I really like her podcast. It's a really interesting project, and it's
love
about
it,
like it's so many topics about self-discovery, feminism, like inequalities. It's very like
Body image, gender.
It goes everywhere.
I love
So
how real she is. She's so like
Yeah.
it takes balls to be like that because she's so
Definitely.
famous as well.
Yeah.
She's not trying to portray that she's like a perfect person at all, and
Yeah.
I respect that so much about Jamila.
Yeah.
And the last question.
the last thing I think is gonna be more for us, but I think I
Okay.
want to say like, what is your favorite episode of our podcast this year? Of our own little
Of
our
our own baby
podcast. What do you think the
podcast.
episode you think you like the most?
I think
And why?
the porn. Do you watch
Oh
porn?
yeah,
and
that's my
Mar-
favorite
I
as
love-
well.
Is it?
Yeah, it was a
Yeah, I love
definitely.
it.
That was
I love
very
that
much fun.
episode. Really fun.
It was very
and
well received, so we all know that you're very interested into porn. We see you.
I was happy that I actually got to express my views on marriage because I felt like I never really, not I haven't been able to do that because of course I can do that in my own life with my friends and family, but I've never spoken so openly about
yeah.
that. And like, I know we're not the biggest podcast in the world, but
Yeah.
like, I don't know, it's kind of like, I was very nervous to say
I remember,
that
yeah.
because people are very precious about marriage and like having babies as well. Like, and we talked about having babies as well in another episode, and it's a very delicate
And we
topic.
went in.
We went in and like
As we always go.
more nervous than talking about porn. Weirdly, like more,
Funny, yeah.
you know, because
I think always sets, and we have again. I think our generation we're more close with these topics.
Yeah.
I'm sure like the new generation. Let's not say everyone, but a lot of the kids they will be like, oh yeah, porn,
yeah.
whatever, like.
But I wasn't really nervous about talking about it. It did take a lot. I think it was quite like a step for us to talk about porn on
It was on
air.
camera,
But
on
marriage,
air.
I was more worried about like offending anyone. But
Anyone.
at the end of the day, like
It's your view
I think we're
and,
both
like,
growing, and like this is the point of our podcast. Like we're challenging our own ideas,
And of course, we never want to hurt or like do anything wrong to
At all.
anyone. It's more like.
but we
a
also
point of
have
view.
to be authentic and like
True,
you're
yeah.
not here for like a mediocre opinion. Like you want an opinion, you want our opinion, and you want to
True.
think through things with us. So there's no point in
Agreed.
being on, you know.
Agreed.
and stuff,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
So yeah, I think it was a very nice year for our podcast. A lot of growing. We had also the Spotify wrap for the podcast, and I think we've been listening like in 20 different countries around the world.
know,
Like it's so
thank you.
crazy.
Oh
It's
my
not just
God,
like the
thank
only 3
you.
countries that we have friends on, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very cute whenever you listen to like any country, any place. So it's thank you because it keeps help us. Like obviously we have a very like a straight vision. Like we're very very focused on what we want and where we're going, but always to know there's someone in the other side
Definitely.
motivates you to like keep pushing it. So
Can I ask you
really proud.
something
Yeah.
before? I was going to ask that. What do you think you've learned from the podcast this year? Because I think it's been like because we started at the end of 2020, and now so we've done like a full year. So I was just wondering if you kind of feel any differences or like the biggest kind of takeaway from the podcast.
I think definitely I feel now that we are more professionals about it. It's not like we were not before, but I think now it feels that we are on it
Yeah.
and we know how to do the things, but still we manage somehow to stay authentic.
Yeah.
We are not like faking anything, even though we are more scheduled now, or we were like this day, this is that set. We're quicker in those things.
Yeah.
We get more automatic in how to do it, but it's not taking away our authenticity, and I think it's good. And I think it shows also because we are obviously really good friends in real life. For us, this is like literally a conversation between friends. So it's like I think we managed to keep that, and I think it's like a really like lesson on how you can make a project or work on a project or be creative and still trying to stay true to yourself and not get lost in the middle of it because it's really easy.
Yeah.
And it's been cool to see people like reacting to it, and people like we collaborate with other podcasts that hopefully they listen to or like brands and things like that. There are things that for some may look small or whatever, for us really important because it's like a little milestones.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and for you, what do you think is something that
it would be like similar, like professional and like how you can. I think it's that thing of like if you. I know I'm going to sound like JLo now, but like if you really want it, you can make it happen.
Yeah, literally.
You just have to do it and push yourself, and we really do. Like we obviously love it, but we do like push ourselves quite hard. And I think also like kind of like really, and I think this is in your own life as well. Like just how important it is to like stop take a breath and
Yeah.
reflect and look at
Definitely.
everything, because I think you can go and go and go, but you just have to kind of properly have like a vision. It's about
Yeah.
having a vision, and like so important to have a vision for this podcast, for our own
Yeah.
lives and everything like that. So that
Yeah,
would be
I think
that
it
I learned.
applies to everything, kind of thing,
Totally.
definitely. And I've seen, like, if you're listening, you have any idea, and that you may think about it, it's like, should I do it, should I not? You just fucking do it,
Yeah,
and that's it.
definitely.
If it doesn't work, but it may work. You may have fun while doing it, and we have learned so much.
Yeah.
Not to be too dramatic or emotional, sentimental, but I think this journey for us has been like a learning of many things like we didn't know before.
Yeah.
And so that's the cool thing about starting something new, that you
sure.
know, because it's like you learn. That's the point to it.
Yeah.
To have new
And
experiences
then it
and cool
spirals
stuff.
into different areas of your life,
Yeah.
and like you get more like confidence in general, like
Definitely.
learn more skills, and like we're
It's like-
basically J-Lo. We're one step away from you. If you're watching, one day you will be.
One day you will be, one day we'll interview you,
Exactly.
like Mark
You'll be a
Ward.
guest. Imagine if I don't think I will be able to look. Can you imagine how she glows?
Imagine-
Like the glow that she must
You should be
have.
like-
we would look
like
so
a god.
hideous next to her. We'd just be like,
Probably.
imagine if she was there
Yeah,
between
well,
us.
that's
Oh.
not for nothing that she has like a perfume or something called Glow.
She's such a get the glow. But anyway.
Yeah, so yeah. Well, guys, I hope you like
Yeah.
this wrapped up. We can wrap up around many other topics, but then we're going to start talking for the 2 hours
Forever
or
and
3 or
ever.
4. So yeah, I hope you like everything. I hope you take something out of all of this.
Totally.
And
Thank
yeah.
you guys for supporting us this year.
Yeah, I'm so
and
happy.
yeah, we hope that you have a lovely Christmas
Yeah,
and
you're-
a very happy New Year.
You're not ready for 2022 and the
You are
podcast.
not ready.
You're not ready at all. Thank you,
guys,
guys. Thank you so
Happy
much,
New
and see you
Year.
next year.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye bye.